Computer. Welcome, everyone. Today we have an action-packed, high-energy Org Labs alignment meeting on this beautiful November 18th. That is Friday. For those joining on YouTube or may not be familiar, Org Labs is a colony or working group of the Little Fish Foundation. Each week, the members of the Org Labs gather for an alignment meeting. And in these meetings, all kinds of things happen. Last week, we did a call to action where everyone jumped in on sort of a lightning round of designing and developing a survey to present to the Cardano Summit, which is happening this weekend in Switzerland. The week before that, we did a mashup of the agile development sprints and the lunar cycle, led by our own Nori. And above all, this alignment means to bring up ideas, concerns, blockers, and demos of projects. And it's my intention to facilitate a lively discussion and give support and direction as best I can. Okay, the two topics that I picked out for today are money and ikigai. Because money often gets handled last and in a hurry, and it's sort of taboo with me and others in the group. We'll tackle that subject first. And the gist is how payments for contribution is handled currently, how it was handled in your past, how the upcoming app and marketplace might work, and plus, how other organizations could possibly handle payments or what our ideal payment solution was. We may or may not turn on and off the recording because why not? And then next we'll talk about the ikigai, which is something that I've always thought of as a personal thing, and then we kind of shoehorned it, or I felt like we shoehorned it onto the organization. But it turns out that the Reinventing Organizations book, this Teal organization seminal work, that's actually one of the tenets. He calls it evolutionary purpose. And it's all about sort of discovering the ikigai of your organization. Unless anyone has something to bring up or has a burning desire to, it's like, has come to the meeting to do something, or has an expectation that I should be aware of, let me know now.
I'm just going to jump in and send out kudos to all those who dove in together on the Ikigai questionnaire for this event. Great job.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? Anything else, Andre? There's four of us here on the call, and maybe some people might join. In the next 15 minutes, let's talk about money, and we're going to turn off the recording. We're going to pause the recording. Okay, we'll be back, YouTube, because we have the power to turn it on and off at any time.
No, that is just my take on it, but I'm down for what you guys want to do.
No. Actually, that's a good idea. It is interesting to think about the taboo of money. And I don't know if that's a personal thing. I don't know if that's something that it's like I was talking to Hoskinson. I was listening in on the lecture from Scott Fest, the IOG festival that's going on sort of concurrently with the CF Cardano Foundation Festival in Switzerland. But Hoskinson was talking about like and it's something that's like, okay, all the transactions on blockchains are public and everybody can see them, but I'm like, that's not what I want. Like, I don't want everyone to know my transactions. That's not something at the bank that happens. And he mentioned, he's like, yeah, that would be illegal if you didn't. So there needs to be this, I don't know how he framed it, but there needs to be like a reputation, or like, because he made the analogy, well, it's not public, but if you are subpoenaed, and then the banks and the courts talk together, and then they release your transactions. So there is this sort of concern of privacy, but then there is this sort of radical openness. And when we're working in a decentralized collective organization, because for instance, each of us know, speaking of how things are done now, each of us knows what we got paid through Littlefish last month, because it's a public document. We can see what we did, what we self sort of reported with our monthly review documents, and then what that was awarded by the foundation.
Yeah, you said something about reputation and wallets. Like I wanted to say something, but then I let you continue and I forgot.
Oh man. Yeah, but it'll come back to you. It'll come back to you. Because I do want to talk about like how we've been paid in the past. So, and I can bring up the mirror board. I want to share my screen and bring up this mirror board.
While you're bringing that up, I'll mention that one of the reasons I think discussion of money feels taboo is that it's deeply connected to like a psychological factor of feeling exposed, and like talking about money exposes your what's it called, vulnerability, and vulnerability, although it's very powerful, is also very uncomfortable.
Yep. That's it. And then it kind of like gets us into like, why would someone feel vulnerable? To have to sort of, yeah. It is nice when like the whole group of us know, like there's that transparency. For instance, in New York City, they just passed a law that every job posting has to have the pay ranges listed, which is kind of interesting. I want to ask, and it's here on the Miro, like, how have you been paid in the past? Like, for instance, when I was, actually my last, like, because I do a lot of farm labor work, like I'll get paid at the end of the day or at the end of the week. Like, what's some other ways that you guys have been paid?
I think I'm fairly standard. When you do not count Catalyst, when I was getting money from the GPS proposal, and then this first little bit from Littlefish, I always was paid standard salary.
Yeah, like a standard salary. Then you get like, like your taxes taken out, and yeah.
Salary and equity is more common in the tech space.
Yeah, in tech. And that actually is something that I because that was one of the first conversations that you and I had through Done Collectively, Randall, is this difference between the equity startups model and other models, and sort of this new model. Yeah.
So I have been paid in utility, just like say, oh, you help me, I'll help you out with the service. I've been paid that way, specifically in like film sets and stuff like that. And I've been paid in gift cards. I've been paid in so I feel like I've been paid in a couple of other ways. I just can't tend to remember.
Yeah.
If I may jump back in, I just remembered, thanks to Harsha, that I was also paid once to helping one company. I was giving them like little consultancy, helping them with some statistics and stuff. And then they went bankrupt. And after that, there was like the liquidation manager, and he wanted to get as much money as possible. So he actually sued me for this tiny amount of money. And in the end, he ended up paying the whole lawsuit. So they paid more money on the lawsuit than they could potentially win from me. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that is totally nuts.
Pay for scope. Like you agree to do a certain amount of scope, you agree to get a certain amount of compensation. When you deliver the scope, you
that
get
was
the
that was the first scope,
compensation, or maybe you get it in chunks, but like the last chunk is predicated on completion. That sounds a lot like the catalyst payout model.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah, like that would be like a contract, right? So that you make an agreement, like you're selling something, like a buy and sell contract.
Like a freelance contract, no?
Yeah, that's right. Freelance
And
contract.
then there's the good old hourly.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
And just for
and
completeness,
then
what is it? Piecework is the another model.
What's that? Piecework. Oh,
Piecework. You're doing some pieces of work and you get paid per piece of work.
okay.
and then you can be paid for ownership as well.
Is
In
that
form
same
of
as equity
dividends,
or
for
different?
example. Oh, sorry, equity. Oh, okay, yeah, that's probably the same thing. Yeah.
By ownership, do you mean like a product manager, or like
No,
you mean
no,
ownership?
I meant ownership, like you have a share of a company,
Oh, okay.
and that's equity. Just do not understand English words. That's it.
And so relative to these, let's just like go through and we'll ask a question. Like, does Little Fish pay for piecework? Does Little Fish pay hourly? Does Little Fish do like what is now the Little Fish model? And this is the way it is now, not necessarily when the app is done, because when the app is done, it'll be moving towards this more of like ideal, because there's a thing, and I'll just let you know because of the time. There's a thing that I'm trying to get to, and that's something that I wish I knew his name. He's the French guy that wrote Reinventing Organizations. And it's something that comes up quite a bit, actually, but this idea of the gift economy. And that is that, basically in a thumbnail sketch, it just basically means like donation based. So like at the end of his video, actually, let's bring up his video really quick. It's right here. Okay, we got it. At the end of his video, he talks about the gift economy.
Live in the gift economy. This is how it works. I gift everything that goes into making the videos, my time, energy, and insights, and you get to choose what feels right to gift back. Please take a moment to reflect on what would feel good to give in return to help me continue doing this work. Thank you.
So basically, I feel like that bumps up pretty close to the Little Fish, meaning that we give freely, and then with the expectation, but not necessarily the contract, to be compensated in return, and that we post something in the marketplace, like what he's done. He's basically put something on his YouTube channel, and that and then just makes a reference to it. It's like, hey, you can donate for this work. Yeah.
That model, it seems to me like it works great for people who don't have who already have sufficient financial safety, that the question of whether they can cover costs is already satisfied. And when that's not satisfied, there's more difficulty for someone to just give what they have, because half of their attention is leaking away for dealing with the question
Yeah.
of how they'll pay the rent.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. You can.
I was just
answer that,
curious
but
as
I
to
have
how
one more.
Randall knew about my life, by the way.
I think that resonates with all of us. Definitely. Andre, do you kind of get that? Like, it's just like, oh, it would be, I feel like I could put so much more attention on things if I had like a base level of like a security, there's some security there. There's some psychology that rolls around there. Yeah.
I was thinking exactly about this recently, because I was researching the source creed example, which kind of failed partially also on this uncertainty for people. Like, there was a lot of anxiety based on people were not feeling that they have a safe income, and yeah, it resonates with me as well. Without certain security, it is difficult. And maybe in organizations like Little Fish, one of the solutions, there will be for sure many solutions, but I was thinking maybe you can kind of have a contract, have kind of a certain insurance, which would cost you something from what you could potentially earn, but for the months when you are not earning that much, you would be covered by this this base salary, let's say, and it would be calculated based on how much you were contributing in the past, and it will help you with those bumps and bruises, right, on the way. So you would be losing something to pay this budget, this special reserves for those who are in need on the way. I think something like that could be
I love
interesting.
that. I love that, actually. That's really cool. That's sort of like union. That's sort of like a union does that. I think they have like, oh, if you can't work, then, or if you're not working, then you get a little extra. Doesn't that feel like that's kind of like union stuff? Yeah.
If we were to take the generality, Andre, of what you said and like erase some of the detail, like some of the mechanisms, I think there's really something there that we could look at a variety of mechanisms that maybe in parallel can add up to the result that someone who people think is deserving and or who have like proven their value can get that result of basic safety. I could imagine 3 or 4 different mechanisms that may be valuable ways to contribute liquidity into such a mechanism, or into such a protocol, you might call it.
Yeah, like a safety, like a income safety protocol. ISP. No, it's not. But I'm gonna still put it in there. Income safety
push a
protocol.
naming exercise along with some of those other activities.
I do have one question with this whole thing, though. So it is a gift economy. How in the gift economy would you make sure that people are not contributing to what they like instead of what is needed?
Ooh, well, okay.
So in the gift economy, I actually read a reasonable bit about gift economy, and there isn't like one kind of gift economy. There have been economies in the past where if someone comes to your house and asks for something, you cannot reject it. You have to give as a gift. So it's like a cultural thing. And specifically coming to this, what was the question you asked? I'm sorry.
My question,
yeah.
it was how do you make sure that you do not end up with what people like instead of what is needed?
Correct. So yeah, in the gift economy, a lot of times the gifting is not decided by the person who is giving the gift, but by the person who is receiving the gift. So even in YouTube, the person who is receiving the gift, they are receiving the gift of the service itself, right? It's an exchange of gifts. If you consider gift as money, you're exchanging one gift for the other. So the gift receiver decides the direction of the gift.
Yeah. I think I think that there is I think this is how economies started. And I think, Harsha, you said it, that it's a gift exchange. It's really like we exchange gifts, and it has that reciprocity thing, you know, and that it creates a bonded relationship, because now I've given a gift, and then you feel like somebody's like, I borrow some sugar from my neighbor, and now my neighbor feels okay when he wants to borrow a hammer. You know, and it's sort of like we now have a bond. And where if you're like, hey, I'm gonna come back and give you $2 for the cup of sugar, that's kind of like it's almost an insult to that like gift reciprocity, neighborly social connection, because basically it means it's like, I don't want you to borrow any, you don't need to do anything else, like we're not connected, let's just you know, like it's just a monetary transaction. And that this breaks down, this was Charles Eisenstein who made this point. I do want to bring up this, which was, I came across this document. This might be a little bit in depth to get into, but this was done for the, I think they were building some documentation, and they had, they had this point system for contribution. So it's like all these folks worked. Oh, there you go. Andre, you know this system?
Yeah, I think this system is George.
Yeah.
George kind of decided what we deserve. He took all the work, all the participation, and he put some criteria on based of his metrics of what should be valued how, and based on that he calculated it. But I was surprised. I didn't even know I would be getting anything. It was a nice surprise for me.
Right. And that's, so you did this work without really sort of,
without knowing, and he was like, okay, it's nice what you did, and he gave me a bit.
Yeah. I think it's interesting with these sort of point system. Maybe it goes to my sort of gamification, you know, school collector thing, my rat mentality. I was born in 1972, which is the year of the rat, Chinese zodiac. And we collect stuff, you know, and so the whole idea of points.
I do think gamification is like a really good way to go for little fish as well, specifically with sprints. If we can have leaderboards and stuff. I know it sounds like a little bit like McDonald's, but it can be done like in a fun way, I think.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. Like fun gamification, you know, because it's not, game doesn't necessarily mean fun, but just that game. I'm gonna write that down.
Entertaining, like it's slightly more entertaining rather than, you know, it's just how it's presented.
It's a second form of incentive.
Yeah,
it is.
So the first form being is just the money, but then there is the second of just collecting stuff and saying, oh yeah, numbers go up, and you know, like collect them all, or
it's just the way we play video games without actually receiving. I play like these racing games in like my mobile phone. I don't receive anything except like, oh, I got first, like what will I do with the first, but it still gives me a kick, right?
Right.
Get status out of it, either for yourself or to reflect back to others. Like you achieve some level of points, or like at a level of points you receive some badge of honor or certification of competency, or just a certification of contribution level. Those are all different like flavors of recognition.
Yeah, recognition, definitely.
Slash reputation.
Yep. Recognition and reputation.
It would suck to have the compensation be these non-tangibles that don't help people pay rent, though.
Right. These are sort of like, this is something like after the contract. I mean, this is sort of the ideal. The ideal is that we would all feel like we could pay our rent, and that we would, if we got sick, we wouldn't be like, just left out of the circle, and that we were, yeah. I mean, it sort of seems like a societal thing that that we just get so scared of, that money has just been like used to like really frighten us. Yeah. So the ideal would be that we're covered and felt good, that we didn't feel vulnerable, that the work that we could. This is an insight. That because all of this, the lack of clarity in it, so that I can't plan. And this might be my issue for like trying to plan things, but so that I can say, oh, I will, for the next month or the next 3 months or the next quarter or whatever, that I have like an expectation that if I do this work, then I can get this amount of fiat rent, tax, that I have to pay. Like that sort of safety, and that sort of the stress that could be pulled off of it, because that's in my ideals, that I wouldn't stress about money. And that doesn't mean like having more or less. It just means that I wouldn't stress it. I would be like, oh, okay, this is what I've got to deal with. And that's just the way it is. And then, when I can adjust, I can budget for anything. But if I don't know, and it's like, oh, I've got to negotiate, I've got to, hustle or do some other things. Yeah.
And then the question is, what do you bring to the table that
Right.
incentivizes someone else to engage into the economic mechanism or mechanisms that actually deliver that money, because money doesn't just come out of thin air.
Right.
And I'll just drop a bookmark on that one, because like we could spend hours on that.
Right. But
Hello,
yeah,
economics.
And that's, and I think, let me tell you, okay, this gets down to it. And I do want to wrap up this section, because I want to end on time, etc. But I think that is one of the things that causes my anxiety, is that I think like I'm uncertain of the value I'm bringing to my, my immediate community, my widening community. Like when I worked for the university, and it was sort of, or like these dead jobs at Twitter, for instance. It's just like, there's people that are just on the payroll, and they just, and they can be there if they have a certain mentality of just like, yep, I get paid, I do some random bullshit, tasks, or run some meetings, or file some silly reports that don't mean anything, or no one's using. It's not making value. And that causes in me anxiety, like that it's sort of like, this isn't valuable, I'm not building anything, and that the system is not resilient. This could be my own psychology.
No, but yeah, but don't you think the fact that you are getting paid for your work means that you're bringing value, and an organization or a group wouldn't pay you if you're not?
See, that's what I, it's sort of like, am I in a like a scam? Is it just, like, is it just, that's my sort of, and I'm talking about the universities here, because I felt like those kids that went to Duke and paid like 4 or 5 times as much as the kids next door that were getting, were they getting a better education?
I think that's a small percentage, because there are lots of kids that go to universities and end up in loans that they pay for the rest of their lives, which is what America is for the most part, I think.
Exactly. It's the debt. It's just like, yeah, I want to build something that doesn't generate debt. That's why I love that payment model of like, I guess it's kind of the buy sell. It's just like, here's the thing that I produced. and that I sell that and I get it, and I know my expenses, and it's very sort of clear cut. But then I think that in the gift economy, because I don't need it to go into fiat, like I would, like, food is something that I get, but I also pay for, like, a big value to me is like health and wellness, and I'll pay like $100 a month for massage, for someone to come to the house and just rub my body. It's kind of a strange thing, but I pay for Tai Chi classes, yoga classes. Like that's a line item in my thing. I don't think that anyone in my community is going to build a wireless network or do. Although I don't know, community trash collection. That I was just looking at everything that I pay for that is sort of like a part of my lifestyle. My insurance, my car registration, those things like that are, like hard costs. But what can I pay? What do I pay for? Like for a community, and like art is one of the things that I pay for. Like I buy ebooks, I buy music, but it's not that much, and it really I'm not like a super consumer that could drive like an economy. Like if we could get like some Taylor Swift fans in here, then we like they would just buy up everything, right?
No, that's the thing. No, with the gift economy, just like Randall said, unless you have like some amount to back you up when you build like a community around what you're doing, until then, like it doesn't make sense. If the gift economy has to work for everything, then everyone has to come to a consensus that, oh, we are all following gift economy. Same goes with our rent. The rent would be kind of, oh, this you have helped me out here, I want to help you out by giving you a gift of whatever amount you give, but that doesn't work that way. So it wouldn't go together, in my opinion.
Right. And maybe it's because of the social bonds, because if we had like super social bonds and we knew that someone was not going to make their rent and they're about to get kicked out, or they'd run out of gas, or their car broke down or something, and they needed a small amount, like $100, but it could, if they don't have the $100, then they've got to end up paying $1,000, and they're not going to be able to keep contributing. If the social bonds and the communication and the tight knitness is there, I think that those things get done. But again, it's sort of, it's sort of like a crisis management. It's just like only when something goes wrong. It just seems like it's a little bit backwards. But I do want to slide on. Does anyone have like, percolate? Let's just sit for a second and see if we come up with some final thoughts on this sort of money topic. Maybe yeah.
So I have another small suggestion, which is kind of similar to the people that work in restaurants and serve you, and then there's a tipping whole thing going on. So they get paid X amount in tips and X amount as like a regular salary, right?
Oh.
In Little Fish, what's happening is we are only enabling tips with our model, but we are not enabling that regular salary part with our model. If we can incorporate both, so for creating an action, you get X amount of money, and after creating whatever someone decides to reward you based on that, you get another amount of money, which balances it out, I think.
That's brilliant. I don't, Andre, Randall, I don't know if you can top that, but any final thoughts on sort of money, gift economy, any things like that? Okay.
It is extremely complex. Sorry, Randall. I think it is not a simple topic, because there in my head there is a lot of questions and question marks when we are talking about this, and it deserves much more time to really figure it out. You really need to play it out to see what will happen. If we just reward each other on gifts, there are probably certain things which need to have some kind of value given or not, but then somebody is paying less, somebody is paying more. It is interesting, right? A lot of things can happen, and I think it would be nice to do different simulations. It would be really nice to do like multiple agent a model simulation where you would give different properties, like different behaviors to different players, and then you would see how it goes. Somehow you would need to beat the prisoner's dilemma. So you would be so people would be playing on win-win somehow in that system, and that's a big question.
Yeah. So you spoke about the prisoner's dilemma. Is it like, are you thinking about the Stanford prison experiment? When you're rolling out?
No.
That's a different one.
That's it. No, because it's a similar thing where you're given a specific role, right, to play. But in that system, they had like a inbuilt hierarchy in the roles they were assigning. So we need to make sure that that doesn't exist.
Right. Andre's talking about the one where the two prisoners are in different rooms, and if they both are quiet, then they win. But if one tells on the other, then that's the one, right, Andre? And Harsha, you're talking about one where they shock them, the Stanford prison.
Yeah, where like a couple of students, and police officers, and
just totally go bonkers. Yeah, actually, it probably does. They probably do overlap a little bit. Randall, I'm going to give you the final word. Thank you. Those are great insights, Andre, Harsha. No? Okay. I
have a feeling you put Randall on the spot.
Yeah. He's like,
his final word was better than mine.
Yeah. He's like, no, I'm not following that. All right. No, that's good. Thinking about gift, this is the segue portion of this facilitation. Thinking about gift and what it is that you bring. When we did our survey, we talked about our superpower. But really, that's sort of like your gift. And we had a great discussion yesterday at the THC meeting about like what one's perspective is on their gift or their ikigai, their reason, and what they can give to a community, and then and how you value it. Like I just shared this about like, well, I did all this work and I felt, I had a degree and I did all this sort of stuff, but I didn't really feel like it was like generating income. It was generating value for the end user. And so it put me on edge. Like how others perceive our gift and how we perceive our gift. I would love to do, at some point, I would love to like get into that zone of what you're good at and what you love, and then sort of to play around with it is just like what you feel is not, like the sort of opposition to it, to sort of like tease out some of these things.
I would just add that it's all well and good for you to think that your gift is X, and if the receiver doesn't feel that that's
right,
a gift, then there's a problem. And that doesn't mean that there isn't high value transferred, but if there's a perception thing that can really get in the way of there being the right dynamic result of that kind of a situation.
Yeah, it's like I want onions, but you give me potatoes. Still have value, but I just don't want them.
Right.
Or I never said I wanted onions, but holy cow, that soup tastes good. Do we know why?
Right.
Well, no, we don't know or care why. It's a delicious soup. Oh, the next soup didn't come out good. Why? We're not sure. What was the magic ingredient? We don't know.
And this kind of goes back to like maybe surprise. Like you were surprised when you did this contribution, and then you were surprised that you got paid. And then what Harsha was talking about, as far as like the giver in this exchange, like the asker and the giver in the gift economy. So for instance, like our video, like he made an ask, and then it's up to us to like give to him. So maybe, you know, like he did an ask, he's like, please give me something. And we write him a haiku, you know, we send him a haiku, and he's like, well, it's this, you know, he first says, this haiku kind of sucks. But then maybe he's like, oh shit, this haiku is incredible. And I'm inspired to make the next, you know, video, and it, you know, gets me over 100,000 subscribers. And now I'm, you know, a full-time YouTuber. Or something, you know, like what is it about the exchange, like who, you know, like what we ask for. And so I guess in the context of this, like the organization is asking for something, you know, we have like alignment, and that's what this ikigai is about, is like, how do we attract the people with the gifts that match up with, you know, basically our proposals and what we've, you know, what our organization wants to do. Like we want to change the organizational model of work. We want to build out these proposals. We want to get people thinking about their gift and their ikigai. And then the actions that happen to get to that, you know, we want to incentivize, and we want to use our resources, the things that we have. Those resources could be a tranche, the word that I learned from Catalyst, a tranche of money, but it could also be the other gifts of the other community members, you know. Yeah. With that being said, I'm not sure where we go from here. We could start to wrap it up. We only have like 8 minutes left, and that's let me read what this beginning part here. The organizational ikigai. As if the organization Little Fish was a person that had its own ikigai. What would its ikigai be? What would Little Fish's ikigai be? It's a bit of a different challenge, because who speaks for the organization? Who speaks for any decentralized organization? One way to face this challenge is to look at the actions of Little Fish, right? Which is great, because we're sort of built on actions. So I wonder.
But do you think that is the right way to go about it? Because Little Fish Foundation is requesting those actions, we are doing it. Unless most of us like decide our own actions and approach Little Fish and say, hey, we want to do this, and then Little Fish approves, that's different.
Yeah, so let's think about that. So the way we do the sprint things, and this is really cool, because the sprint is like those sprint planning meetings are really great, because so Chakan like goes through the proposals, and he says, okay, these are the tasks that need to be done. And then we have this sprint planning where people come and you know, we kind of discuss like, oh, this is the
I think there is one more level to it, Newman. First,
Yeah.
he looks through the proposals, and also he problem senses on Discord, like where are we facing problems or whatever. And then he connects that problem to whichever proposal it fits into.
Yeah.
And then the award and all of that like comes in.
Yeah. But then there's that part where we decide kind of like which ones we want to do. And if no one, you know, because there's a lot there, like wherever, you know, he's like, okay, who wants to do this one? And there's just crickets. Like no one wants to do that. You know, it's like, you know, and so there is like kind of a, you know, and I wonder about the body. We talk about like all of and this was from yesterday's meeting. I think it was recorded, like the organs of the body, you know, and we thought about the individual colonies as the organs of the body, like the heart, kind of like the love house, the forge, kind of like the intestines and digestion, you know, the orglabs, you know, maybe we're the liver, I don't know, we're the brain, you know, or the nervous system, or the bones, we're the skeletal system, something like that. But I wonder if all of a sudden the bones were like, fuck it, man, I can't, I'm not holding up the head anymore, or I'm not sitting down anymore, you know, they just give up. But but everything sort of works in concert, but it also sort of works for itself. And then we were talking, you know, like kind of like autoimmune disease, where some systems kind of like get oppositional, you know, like where if or like
When you said as an organization, we had a network glitch.
oh yeah, I'm still okay. Hopefully it's calmed down. Yeah.
Sorry, I was interrupting you.
No, please do. I was rambling. Sometimes it happens.
Okay, so when you said organizational ikigai, what I translated that to is, you know, for personal ikigai, you draw a box around the person, and you look at the edges, and you say, okay, what can the world pay? What do I love? Okay, that's more internal facing. But like if you draw a box around the organization and say, what does the world need? What can the organization be paid for? And look at it from an external perspective and not an internal operational point of view. That's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And right now to talk about organizational ikigai for Little Fish seems a little bit from that perspective doesn't make much sense, because there's no element of what Little Fish would be paid for beyond this catalyst funding mechanism, which feels a little bit in the way of artificial.
Yeah.
I like that point. I was thinking something very similar, and I would like to maybe say to that, perhaps that is the opportunity. Like, there's a community inside of the Little Fish. Everyone knows what they like to do, and there might be on the path some steps we can take which will bring additional funding to the Little Fish. So once this sprint meeting is going on, there wouldn't be just the lists which are related to the proposals, but there will be also lists related to some other organizations or sources of funding which we could do and potentially could bring money. And if that happens, like a big internal organizational structure can appear around that source of funding and then disappear when the source of funding is dry. But that would be the ideal thing if the Little Fish would be able, and the members themselves would be able to have this mentality to search for these opportunities, financial opportunities.
Yep. And I think, yeah, go for it, Harsha, go.
So just based on what Andre said, I am thinking of two things. Let me know if you are thinking of things beyond this. One is searching for other places like Catalyst. As a group, we all like different places start applying for grants and stuff, or two, build stuff and earn like money through whatever we build, whoever builds it, and a little bit goes to the treasury, all of that. And similarly start building things that earn money so that we get like multiple streams. So maybe some of them will die out, some of them will stay, but we keep like creating these streams of income, Little Fish, whatever those are. Is that what you had in mind? Or
and I think you are creating a tremendous base of knowledge. And I believe there is potential for actionable business models based on basically selling knowledge. So I think there is another opportunity. Yeah, accessing knowledge. Sorry. Yeah.
How much do we see that being compatible with the current nature of Little Fish's everything in public approach?
Yeah. And also because I do think like as a human species, we build on each other's knowledge, right? Blocking away knowledge feels a little like a Web 2 thing to do, but that's just my opinion.
For commercial purposes. So you will keep everything can be available to everyone. And the moment anyone can use that for creating profit, then he has to pay you a license fee. And that is one way to go around it. The other way is to do the action in the form of some kind of a help in orienting themselves, right? Orienting the people who want the knowledge to understand what there is. I'm not saying it has to be like that, and it goes perhaps a bit to against what Little Fish is in its core, because I'm fairly new here, so you have to be careful not to let me to go too far. But I think there are interesting opportunities for sure.
Excellent, excellent. So we're at the top of the hour. I'm mindful of the time. I do want to just set aside a bit of time to wrap up the conversation. Does anyone have any sort of final to sort of get this sort of wrapped? Because I think that, you know, ikigai, gift economy, and payment model are certainly something that that falls into our organizational labs sort of purview, because we are the sort of structural folk that this reinventing organizations does have something to say about it. You know, leading and guiding the organization, you know, has a lot to do with money and the value that it's created and the sort of perception of value, its gift. So a lot of things that we discussed today.
What I think we may have missed drawing attention to would be a mechanism in the sequence of value delivery that can play at the interface between want, need, and can provide, so that less energy may need to be expended on providing something that people may not want or need, and that things that people want or need or have to offer can be like there can hopefully be a mechanism for that offer or want to be there without all the effort having already been done prospectively.
I think I get you. It's like, how do we ensure? Well, one, I think like being really upfront and visible about what we want and need, and then what we can give. Now, I think that's something that this has something to do with ikigai. Like it says, these are the things that I have and I can give. Right? These are my skills. These are what I'm good at. These are the things that I love to do, and then the need. Well, and then I guess that's the second half of the ikigai, like what the world needs and what the world has value for. Yeah, I think we came right around to ikigai. I see the, you know, but the special thing that you just said, I think, was what people want, need, and can provide. You know, like in between.
The distinction I would make between ikigai in general and what I'm thinking of is that ikigai is conceptual, and what I was suggesting and hoping for is operational.
Yeah, I think that's what
this mechanism.
Yeah. And that's as a smart contract where people sort of like plug in their profile, and then it sort of spits out, you know, it does some, you know, algorithmic, you know, just some computation, and then helps people to fit and match and align, so that organizations can be more efficient and are less wasteful of people's time and organizational sort of overage and wastage. I think that's, yeah, that gets to it.
Hey, Randall, quick question. When you spoke about want, need, and of both parties, do you think a system where like you know, auction system where, you know, I want to work on, say, Little Fish says this is the work I need, and then people say, okay, I'm willing to do this work for X amount of money. Do you think that kind of auction system would make sense, or would it be too messy and confusing? Has it been, maybe it has been done before, I don't know.
My intuition would be that that one specific mechanism that you mentioned might be too constraining, but that something that had some multiple points of flexibility around bids and asks and offers and solicitations might be more responsive to the richness of reality.
Ooh,
I agree. That makes a lot of sense. Yep.
I think that is one of the things, like and that has something to do with this evolutionary purpose, like that it responds to reality, that we listen to the organization, we sort of take account of who is here, who's working, what's been done in the past, what worked, what didn't work, and then that we sort of dance with. I don't know if you were here for that little bit of the video. There's a video on the Miro board. But we sort of work with the organization as a living body, and not try to force it into doing stuff that it's not really capable, or it doesn't have that. Each of these systems, can evolve, can develop, can grow, and that's what we're into.
Options and emergence, not forcing people into doing things some particular way.
That's exactly it. Options and emergence. Emergence is such like a, because emergence loves complexity. Everything else, like all these other organizational systems, it's like, oh damn, then comes complexity, and that has something to do with planning and control. Like you can't plan and control complexity, and yet complexity is a part of this dimensional reality. Yeah. Did we just figure out everything? Was everything now solved? Andre, Harsha, Randall, did we just figure it all out? Oh man.
No, I think we have asked all the questions we need to ask, but answered none of the answers.
We've asked none of them, yeah. Well, like Andre says, this is a super complicated, and it's just so many things that's tied to it. But I'm happy that we got the chance to have a nice recording, meet for an hour or so. I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube, and then we'll wrap up. But for the folks that are listening, if you're interested in these type of conversations, please come and join us at Little Fish Foundation. The Discord links are in the description down below. Why don't you like and subscribe? You can do any of those things. There's lots of ways to participate. Come and see us. Come and see us. Come and see us.